My name is Dr. Moss, a PGY1 psychiatry resident. Make sure at the end of every single interview, you're spending 5 minutes and writing down all your feelings that you had and key things that stood out for you. This will be really helpful because in March, everything blends together and it's really hard to differentiate the different programs. The day that we've been waiting for the past 4+ years, it is March 21st at 12 p.m. You'll receive an email of which specialty and program you match. So every single time those what ifs come and haunt your brain, I want you to think back to all the things that you have overcome. You got this. I know it's hard, but you've gone through so much before in the past. So I guarantee you'll get through this. No matter the outcome, you will get through this. Thank you all for joining. My name is Stephanie Moss, Dr. Moss, a PGY1 psychiatry resident. Now, first, just like everything, we have to do disclosures. PsychSign is not paying me to be here. I am a brand ambassador and affiliate for Know Your Psych, Online Meta, and Picmonic and Bookshop. I do get royalties and support for advertising for them. Also, everything that I will say is my own opinion, my own experience. This does not represent my institution for residency, nor the Department of Defense, because I work at the VA. So this does not have to do with the Department of Defense. Okay, summary. First, I'm going to give an introduction to who I am and the people that mean a lot to me and animals. Next, we're going to go over an emotions wheel. If you've never heard of an emotions wheel, you will after this. We'll then go through a mental reset that we'll see a couple different times throughout this next hour and hope that I can impart some different tools that you can pull upon when you are feeling overwhelmed during this process. Then I'll be going over the 2025 match timeline. After that, we'll be going over the important things to do before March, and that is month March, not match. Very different. So we'll be talking about support systems, how to really take hold of them, how to go through the rank list with important things to write down and take note when you're trying to decide which programs to rank in what order. Next, we're going to talk about what happens if you only have one. Next, we're going to talk about what's in your control and what's out of your control. We'll talk about the bad day checklist that you can all develop before you actually have those bad days. And we'll be discussing the rainbow of tolerance. We'll be finishing off the best advice that I've received from people above me. Hopefully you stay till the very end. That's my little tidbit. I won't give you the best advice till the very end to make sure that you stay till the very end. And then of course, we'll do a mental reset. If you don't know who that is, little pygmy hippo, I'll let you think about it. It's my husband's favorite. Mooding. Like my husband would say, creatures that mean the most to me. The husky, her name is Midnight. Eclipse is my German Shepherd. My husband, Jonah Moss, he's a PGY2 resident. He's currently on stroke, so he will be busy tonight. Those three mean the most to me. Starting off, this is the emotions reel. I first learned about this during medical school from my medical school therapist. I remember when he first gave me it, I was like, what is this? I don't even think I've experienced all of those emotions. I don't even know if I've been able to articulate any of those emotions. So look at the emotion. You can start in the middle, starting with the big 6 emotions, and then you can go on the outside. Just think about, how are you feeling right now? Put a star or a circle where you are. I'm going to choose a check mark. Ooh, no, I'm going to use a heart. I was looking for anxious, but now I can't find anxious. I'm thankful because I'm here. A little overwhelmed and eager. Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for looking at that emotions. So, mental reset. These are my 3 most favorite somatic movement and breathing exercises. We're going to do 3 of them at different points during this presentation. So we're going to start with the heart rate focused breathing. Choose your heart rate. That can be on the arm, on the neck, hand on the chest. You can get really fancy behind your knee, whatever you want. What we're going to do is focus on your heart rate, and you're going to take a breath and count 4 heartbeats. So breathe in 4 heartbeats, breathe out 4 heartbeats. Wonderful. And let's switch to one other location. So that can be hand on the heart, on the opposite side of the neck, on the opposite arm. Same thing. Breathe in for 4 heartbeats, breathe out for 4 heartbeats. Thank you so much for doing that with me. Hopefully that was helpful. We'll get to the other ones later on. I did that on purpose because I knew that this gets stressful. Hopefully you're now a little bit more in control of your body, in control of your heart rate, using more of your frontal cortex instead of your amygdala. Let's start off. Okay, January 31st. Hopefully you're here because you're applying and you're currently in the Match 2025 cycle. If you haven't already, make sure you put it on your calendar. These are going to be all the important dates that you need to know. Starting off with January 31st. That's the deadline to register online for the Match and SOAP system. Yes, it is different than NRMP. I was very confused with that when I was in your position. And so they're 2 separate sites. And I think you even have to pay for them. February 3rd is the date that ranking site opens. So after you register on February 3rd, you'll be able to go in and start putting programs in a list based on your ranking. End of February. I don't have an exact date because obviously every single program director is going to choose a different date, but they have to do it by the end of February. That's when the program directors submit their rank list. Usually after you interview for a program, they score you and they say, okay, where am I going to put you? If I interviewed 100 applicants, where am I going to put some of them? Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 100. Now, it's always possible they do not rank you, but you have to be pretty bad. And I doubt that will happen. So usually if you interviewed, you'll be somewhere on that rank list from the programs. March 5th. This is when the rank list closes at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you have that on your calendar. Make sure you have your timers on. I always recommend that you do this hours, if not days before the March 5th deadline, because we're talking about thousands of people going through the match and submitting. We don't want something to go wrong, the website go down, or your internet go down. So just know by March 5th at 9 p.m. Eastern time, that's when whatever you have in the list is official. March 17th at 10 a.m. Eastern time, you will anxiously be staring at your phone or computer. At 10 a.m., you will receive an email that says either you're matched or you're SOAP eligible. Actually, I feel like the email went out a little bit after 10 o'clock. And I kept refreshing my email over and over and nothing came through. So I checked the website, and the same place where you submitted your rank list will suddenly switch at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and it will say either SOAP eligible or SOAP not eligible. So March 17th through 20th, that's when you have 3 days that if you did get assigned, you are SOAP eligible. That means that a program, really it's a computer system, did not rank you because you have your list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the programs you have, and then each program is going to go through and put you somewhere on that list, and then a computer program matches you to a program. I believe, I'm not 100%, they prioritize the individual, so you as the applicant. So let's say the computer will try to put it at your number 1 until that place is filled. It's very confusing. There are so many other online things that explain the match better, but get ready to be asked that by a billion people in your family that are not in medicine. Be like, what is the match? Wait, I thought you interviewed. So if you end up being SOAP eligible, you will have to interview with programs that still have availability or unfilled positions. And I put a link that goes straight to the NRP, the website, that will actually explain what happens what are the rules. I did not go through that process, so I cannot give you good advice on how it works, but there are plenty of people online that can explain it a lot better, that have gone through it and can explain tips. Okay, the day that we've been waiting for the past 4+ years. It is March 21st at 12 p.m. You'll receive an email of which specialty and program you match. I said specialty because some people did dual apply or they applied for transitional years. When I went through it last year, I applied family medicine and psychiatry. So on March 17th, all I knew is that I had matched in a program, but I had no idea if I had matched psychiatry or family medicine. So you will not be able to figure that out until that Friday, March 21st. You have from that time period, March 21st, if you're still in medical school, you'll graduate at some point, and you have off, and we'll talk about what to do during that time, all the way until middle of June, July 1st. Every single program has a specific different date of starting and different date on when they do orientation, but the majority of programs start actually working on July 1st. Some programs have a week, 2 weeks, or even a full month of orientation. So make sure you do not schedule a trip during that time until you know 100% when your start day is. Going to pre-March, and that doesn't say pre-match. This is pre-March. So what should you do before March? I want you to do this all before the programs submit their own list. For example, letter of intent. A lot of people have heard about letter of intent versus letter of interest. To explain that, letter of interest is what you're sending right now, or hopefully have already sent a program saying, hey, remember, look at me, look at my application, please give me an interview. That's that one. Letter of intent is where you submit in January or February to just your top 3. Some people do only the #1 program. I remember last year there was a lot of debate between saying top versus numbered. What I ended up determining for myself is I didn't feel right saying number 1, 2, 3 to a program because I didn't want to let them know that they were my second place or third place. For my #1, I did say to the program director, you are my #1 program. And then for my second and third, I said, you are my top program. The reason we don't say second and third is because they do talk, especially in the same city. I applied to all the ones in Chicago, and I know all the program directors talk and know each other. I remember when my husband almost did neurosurgery before he did neurology, his advisor told him, that was a neurosurgeon, they said that sometimes they even were calling up each other and being like, hey, what did you think of this candidate? Oh, I want that one. How about you take that one? Who knows if it happens for other specialties, but that happened for neurosurgery at least 2 or 3 years ago. So something to keep in mind, that you don't want to lie. You don't want to say you are my #1 to multiple programs, because there's always a possibility they will talk or they will communicate. Okay, so there is a question. So going back to the letter of intent. I think the letter of intent is a safe bet for top programs regardless of their instructions post-IB. Okay, so I understand what you're saying. Post-interview communication means they, as programs, are not allowed to contact you and are not allowed to respond to emails. What that does not mean is that you, as an interviewee, can email them. Do not overwhelm them with emails because they will not respond. It's under regulation that they cannot respond because they cannot be equal. In the past, before that rule that they weren't allowed to have communication with you, they might be giving some participants more information or more advice or more feelings, just more information than others. So to make it equitable, they say they're not allowed to communicate with you post that interview. So hopefully that makes sense, because I remember that was confusing of because they say that over and over, no post-interview communication, but it means on their end. And then there's a question about some people have told that person that programs can say they are functionally matched or that you are their number one. No, that's not correct. They can say whatever they want. It does not mean anything. I will give an example. I had a program that did not follow the post-interview communication and emailed me saying they were really excited. They hoped that I rank them high. I got personally very excited. I was like, oh my God, maybe this means that they're going to rank me high. Maybe I should rank them high. And then as I started communicating with other people that I knew also interviewed in that program, there was an idea that program director had just sent it out to everyone. So it's not 100%. Don't trust them. Program directors can say whatever they want. I talked to individuals who are waiting for interviews. And when I applied for my sub, I met individually with a program director and they accepted me for the sub-I. He said that he would be very excited to interview me. I submitted my application and almost immediately got a rejection. So, example, they can say whatever they want. It's not true. Hopefully that helps. Okay. Connect with current and previous residents. Hopefully you did meet some residents during your interview and hopefully they gave you their email. That is the perfect time to send follow-up questions when you're comparing programs, any comments you didn't ask them before. Residents are not bound by the same rules as program directors. They cannot have communication with interviewees. As residents, I can talk to people who are currently interviewing. It will not impact your placement unless I get a disrespectful vibe. And I could always tell my program director, hey, this applicant, they were very disrespectful. Who knows if that would impact applicants? So make sure you are always respectful and kind. I do want to provide that information to reach out to them. That's why we're here. We want to help you, especially if we want you as part of our program. We want to make sure you make an informed decision. Also, to do pre-March or in March timeline, make sure you have all credits accounted for graduation. This happened to a couple individuals that I know that because step 2, step 1, COVID, leaves of absence, so much stuff was going on that your schedule kept moving around with interviews and you might not have the correct credits to graduate. Make sure you talk to your school advisor or just make sure. I think my school, we graduated in like end of April. So that's like a month before this point. You do not want to miss your graduation date. The next thing I'm going to go over is something very useful to create during this time before you need it. Building out your support system. The important thing is to figure out who you're going to be able to reach out and trust, who's going to provide you support, not going to provide you so much stress and anxiety. Will truly just care about who you are. You can either cry with them, you can express your feelings, you can call them anytime. This is all very important. I like to compare this to a safety plan. When I'm in the emergency room and I have patients that come in who have suicidal ideation, one of the things that we go through is coming up with a safety plan. And the whole idea is to make sure you have something written down either on your phone or on your fridge, whatever is accessible to you, that when you're in this severe anxiety or panic or whatever high emotional state, you don't have to think about who am I going to contact or what should I do or what can I grab, like pets, stuffed animals. So that's why it's so important to have this written down beforehand. I like to put a plug in. I put Dr. Moss support group because I realized that there's not really a space where individuals are able to share their emotions, share their different struggles in medical school openly. There is Reddit, there is social media. Since I've been working with so many students, I created a support group. It's mostly for individuals who have had struggles during medical school, whether that's leave of absence, failures, because I feel like that is the areas where there's not a lot, if any, other support groups. So if that is of interest to you, or maybe you got through those challenges before, it would be amazing to have you as part of our support group, especially as you go through a journey. It'll be helpful to give support back to the current medical students that are still going through it. You can always email me if you're interested to join that. And I'll have my email at the end of the presentation. Okay. Ranking programs, one of the most commonly asked questions. How do I rank these programs? There's going to be a lot of advice, a lot of different individuals that say a lot of different they might create. And I try to take all of them with a grain of salt, as you should take my information with a grain of salt. But I've accumulated the most common things, or the commonalities, that helped me rank my own programs and hopefully will help you. First, did I get an odd feeling or any red flags at the interview? Next, where would I be most happy? If I were to wake up and find out that I matched with this program, would I be happy for after one day, or would I still be happy for multiple years? That being said, where can I live and work for the next 3 to 7, almost 8 years if you do a fellowship? Where did I feel most accepted for being me or having my passions or interests? You'll get those feelings through talking to the residents, attendings, program directors. And then if you dual applied, what specialty would I want to practice for the rest of my life? For me, this was a question that I kept coming back to, literally up until the week that rank list submitted, because like I said, I dual applied. So I was like, do I do the distance? Do I do, and so I had to weigh. For me, I determined to rank all my psychiatry programs first and family medicine down below, because I was more passionate about being a psychiatrist. Everyone is going to see different things. So top big 4, location. There was a reason you put in the ERAS where you want to live. This is your time to think about cities, states, politics, family support, green activities, all those informations. Next, you're going to hear bubbles. I do not know why they're bubbles. Specialty. We already talked about that. Psychiatry, family medicine, surgery, OB-GYN, whatever it is. If you dual applied or triple applied, those are considerations you have to have. Next is community. Community is individuals that live in the community. If there's specific populations you want to serve, your own family, or being in the residency community, did you feel like somewhere that you would fit in and become friends with, or at least have enjoyable work conversations and colleagues? And then gut feeling. This is the most important one, and it is definitely the hardest one to be okay with it, because we're all scientists to some extent. We want hard data. I cannot give you hard data. There will not be the perfect thing. There isn't a perfect reason. So you have to look inward, trust your gut, trust the gut that you had after the interview, during the interview, and a month or 2 after. I didn't put it on this slide, but I've mentioned it before. Make sure at the end of every single interview, you're spending 5 minutes and writing down all your feelings that you had and key things that stood out for you. Any odd feelings, this will be really helpful, because in February, March, everything blends together. It's really hard to differentiate the programs. These are the important things you need to know. Only rank programs you actually interviewed at. Since you can put in the code, there is a possibility that you'll put in the code of a program you didn't even interview at, and if you don't show up on their rank list, as in they will only rank you if you interview, you just wasted a rank spot. That being said, make sure you have the correct code for the program. I think it was where we submitted ERAS. I think that's where I pulled from to make sure it was the exact same code. And then I created my own spreadsheet, like this program, this code, this program, this code. Make sure every single time you adjust your rank list, you press save and certify. It's 2 buttons. If you don't click it, it will not save anything. I accidentally did it once, and thankfully I had my list in a spreadsheet. Worst thing that happens is you go and put it in all over again. But that being said, if the day before match, you don't click save, certify, and receive an email confirmation, there's a chance you didn't actually certify and submit. So make sure you receive that email saying you've been certified, and do not touch it after you receive that email, because you might accidentally forget one or the other. There'll be a lot of stress of waiting after you click of, did I actually click save and certify? Did I receive the email? But as long as you remember those three, save, certify, email, you'll be good. Perfect. Please put in the chat if I said anything that's too confusing or you have any questions. The what ifs. If you haven't had this thought in your mind, lucky, but it's going to happen at some point. Just get ready for it to happen. What if I don't match? What if I have to soap? What if the world ends? All the what ifs that will exist will come to your mind. These are the best quotes that I could find to deal with the what ifs. You know what? It will happen. Don't watch the clock. Yes, you can wait and tick the days and the minutes until you match, but make sure you're not becoming obsessed with all those what ifs and the time, because you're going to get more and more anxious. And then when you do think of those what ifs, think back to all the things you've been able to overcome. Getting into medical school, get into a medical school. If you did, okay. But if you didn't ever believe that, okay, lucky you. But most of us were fearful that we wouldn't get into medical school or wouldn't get an interview. Some of you, like myself, have failed an exam, whether if that was a board exam, whether if that was STEP, COMLEX, NCAT, but you're here at this point. That means that you were able to get through it and be able to pass eventually. So every single time those what ifs come and haunt your brain, I want you to think back to all the things that you have overcome. My therapist had me write a list on my phone of all the challenges that I've been able to overcome. So every single time I felt those, I would pull up that on my phone and be like, okay, I made it over that. I made it over that hill. I made it over that hill. It helped me feel more confident. Okay, mental reset. Vagus nerve stimulation. Yes, I do mean cranial nerve 10. If you think back to anatomy, the cranial nerve 10 doesn't just stay in the brain. It goes all the way down and goes under and over the arch of the heart. It actually even goes down into the digestive system. It goes to the diaphragm. So what it means, a vagus nerve stimulation, because most of it is parasympathetic, we want to activate the vagus nerve. How do you do that? By having deep breaths where you move your stomach. You've maybe heard of belly breathing. That's what they're doing. You're stimulating your vagus nerve. So by taking a deep breath and making your stomach as big as it can, I like to think hand on my stomach, and then I put my hand on my chest because I can tell the difference between me going like this or actually feeling my stomach expand. We're going to do 3 big deep breaths, making your stomach as wide as you can, your muscles as relaxed towards the floor, in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Thank you so much for stimulating your vagus nerve. Okay, only one. There are 2 different things that I think about when I say this. You only need 1 program to match. That means you need 1 interview. You only need 1 program to accept you. Same thing if you do get to SOAP, you only need 1 program to choose you. Only 1. You're not the only one struggling. I know it seems like it, especially when you're going through those days of ups and downs. Everyone going through Match 2025 is also experiencing some distress. Maybe they're not vocal about it. Maybe you don't see it. Maybe it's not today. But at some point, every single one of you is going to have some distress or struggle about this process. So you're not the only one. So how do we manage all those struggles and emotions? What is in your control versus what is not in your control? We don't have control whether or not we match. We don't have control where we match. But let's think of the opposite. Okay, what can we control? If you go back to your support group list or your support individuals, you can decide who you ask for help and when you ask for help. You can control what your rank order is. You can also control what you do today, and we'll get to that in a little bit of what are different things you can do during this time period. So think about what else is in your control. I highly recommend you do it before rank lists are due to emotionally prepare for bad days and struggle days. That can be today, that can be for tomorrow. This goes back to the list that I create with my patients. Have a toolkit and list of things that provide you joy, able to disconnect from all the stresses. And here are some ideas. And all these cool pictures that you see, Lindsay Bram, I got them mostly from her. She's an amazing PhD psychologist. I do have permission to share these images. Hopefully these help. Okay. Has anyone heard of the rainbow of tolerance? I had never heard of this up until I started following Dr. Bram on social media and then really started to get into her stuff. I really liked her drawings and how to describe where we're at. So when we're having a good day, we're in the rainbow. We're able to listen, we're able to learn, we're able to go to school, we're able to go to clinic, but there are two ends of the spectrum we need to recognize in ourselves, and that's when we grab the previous toolkit. So starting off on one side, hypoarousal. So some signs that you can look for: taking longer time to respond, feeling shut down, emotionally withdrawn. You can also notice things in your body like not breathing as fast, not making motions, maybe disconnecting, dissociating from your body or from life. Think about a time where you've been hypoaroused. Maybe you're like it right now. On the opposite side of the spectrum is hyperarousal. This is when your body really demonstrates extreme emotions, high anxiety, difficulty focusing. Maybe this is when you cry or talk super fast. You might be hyperventilating. You might have those extreme emotions like having a panic attack. No matter what end of the spectrum, it's important to be able to notice this in yourself. That's when you want to take a break and go back to the previous of to-do list. So if you're on the hyper or hypoarousal, that's when you want to grab this list on your phone to do one of these physical or mental activities to get right back into optimal arousal. Okay, last one, mental reset. My third favorite way, this is also called meditate. If that word scares you, then ignore that word, is using your five senses. So we all know our senses: sight, smell, taste, hearing, and sensation. So we're going to start with the sense of sight. Looking around, try to notice different colors of the room around you. If you don't like colors, you can also do shapes like round, square. Good. If you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes. If not, just make your eyes soft. Now take a deep breath in through your nose and see what smells you have. Smell a tea, a candle, your clothing. Just notice the different smells. Now, don't judge them. It's okay if you don't like them. Maybe you smell like sweat. That is okay. The important thing is you notice the smell. Good. Now, open up your mouth ever so slightly, and this time take a breath through your mouth and taste. Focus on all your taste buds. Taste the air. Maybe move your tongue around your mouth to notice different flavors. in your mouth, maybe in the front of your mouth versus the back of your mouth. Again, don't judge, just notice. Next, we're going to go to hearing. I'm going to be quiet while you use your ears to notice far away, outside, and close to you. If you're in Chicago, you might be hearing the wind. That's what I'm hearing. Next, sense of feeling. So I want you to take notice of your seat, different parts of your body, sitting in your chair or laying on your couch. Take notice of the clothing on your arms, on your stomach, on your legs. Notice if you have hair. See if you can feel the hair on your head. Good. We're going to go backwards now. Now we're going to go taste. Next, focus on hearing. Starting out far away to maybe until you hear yourself even breathing. Next, focus on smell. Taking big, deep breaths through your nose. And if your eyes are closed, you can open them and notice the different colors or shapes around the room and around you. Thank you so much for doing that mental reset. So those are 3 of my favorite. I'm sure you have more, but hopefully those 3 are something that you can put in your tool chest to be able to reset. Okay, hobbies. Remember what those are? I doubt you do. If you do, then great. But I do remember that we forgot our hobbies. And it's okay. This is the time, whether that is right now, during interviews, while waiting for match, post-match, these are the time to develop new hobbies or grab the hobbies that have worked for you in the past. So here is a list of some of them that I've thought about that could be helpful. Catching up with family and friends that you haven't seen or talked to forever because you've been very busy with med school. Reading for fun. You don't just have to read first aid and Anki. Reading, it's actually fun. Remember when that used to be fun? Going outside, spending time in nature. As it gets a little bit colder, more difficult, but still possible if you like to snowshoe, if you like to ski. In the springtime, going out and smelling all the flowers. Fitness and movement. We all know how important physical movement is for the body and for your mental health. So set a new routine, set a new goal, volunteer, research. Those are some ideas. Making money. This will be helpful to just keep you busy. Dog sitting, babysitting, nannying, anything that keeps you busy. Try something new. During this time, exactly starting in December, I had finished all my interviews. And so I decided to turn my blog posts into a podcast. So I've only been doing this for now, what are we in November? So 11 months. I'm not saying that you should do a podcast now. If you do want to look for something, I am looking for individuals to help me edit, so have to plug that in. And then explore and travel. Now, I didn't have a lot of money to do the travel part, but remember, traveling doesn't necessarily mean going on an airplane. You can go driving, you can just explore the city that maybe you haven't had time to explore because you've been in med school. Also, if you're taking out school loans, your student loans or federal student loans can be increased for 2 plane tickets a year going there and back to your family. Your family might be in multiple places. Just putting that out there. Any other ones I forgot? No, I didn't put a questions part, but we're 5 minutes early. So this works. You got this. I know it's hard, but you've gone through so much before in the past. So I guarantee you'll get through this. No matter the outcome, you will get through this. Don't give up. Find a support group, whatever that is. Make sure you create a toolkit or a list of things that make you feel happy and whole, and pull those out whenever you're either hypo-aroused or hyper-aroused. Please let me know if you have any questions or anything I can add in for if I do this presentation again. It also, if you're still interviewing, which I'm guessing most of you are, I do have a recent, just this weekend, I posted a mock interview for psychiatry. So if you're applying psychiatry, but I've also published mock interviews that are timed recordings. So a question, and then there's a little clock with a minute at a time for internal medicine, family medicine, DOs. So hopefully that helps you. Thank you so much for being here. Please put in the chat if you have any questions. Oh, I missed one of them. Can you save and certify only once? No, you can save and certify it as many times as you want. Really great question. Make sure every single time you change one of your programs in a different order, you save and certify, because it could go back to what the previous one was, or it'll disappear. Just want to clarify. Click and certify every time I change the list. Yes, so the second one. Every single time you change the list, save, certify. Yes. Any other questions or things I can help? When do you need to submit your letter of intent for number one by? Very good question. So programs have till the end of February to submit their list. Usually they're interviewing through January. If February 1st hits and you haven't submitted it yet, make sure you start submitting them, because you want to give them time to see the email and know that you're very interested. I did receive this question earlier today asking about the latest they can send out interviews. Some programs do send out interviews end of January and February. However, those end up being the ones that people have canceled their interviews. So those have come out, but they're less likely. And it can be new programs. Sometimes programs just become allowed or certified to become residency programs, but they don't become available for the ERAS back in September or October. And so whenever they get allowed to submit interviews, they send them out. I remember my year, actually the year of my husband's year, there was a family medicine program in Chicago that a couple weeks before they were supposed to submit their rank list, they got accepted. So they quickly put out a message like, hey, if you're still looking for interviews, we would love to interview you. So that was an option. Any other questions?
I actually had a last minute question. If that's okay. It's a little bit broad. First off, thank you for your presentation. It's very helpful. I'm a fourth year applying to psychiatry. I know you mentioned it's important to know what you can do versus what's out of your control. As med students, we're always told to keep working on something. At this point, when we're interviewing and I'm still doing my sub-I, what are some things that would be helpful practically in terms of the match, and then some things you would tell your past self or us to just not worry about?
Yeah, of course. So your question was, looking back, any additional things you would do to improve your chances of matching. Definitely communicating with residents before you interview. If you haven't received an interview, sending those letters of intent, going to conferences, going to online meetings, trying to get your name out there. Something that I wish I knew beforehand is that medicine is who you know. The place I matched today, I didn't receive an interview at. I think I got it in December when I was on an elective, and randomly in my elective was a fellow, and she had gone to my current program, and I told her I would love to stay in Chicago. I actually haven't heard back from your program. She grabs her phone and texts her program director. By the time I get home, I got an email from that program. I had no control nor knowledge that she would do that. I had no control that she would message the program director. But what I did have control of is talking to someone that I had physical access to, asking them what residency they went to, asking about who they are, connecting with my attendings that are in my specialties, seeing if they know the different program directors. I remember in family medicine, I had a phone call with one of my mentors, And I was like, I haven't heard back from one of these family medicine programs. And she's like, I will text them. I'm personally friends with the program director, and I did later receive that interview. It's about who you know, it's how medicine works. So try everything you can. Contacting your letter writers, saying that you still haven't heard back. All they can do is put in an email, a text, or a phone. Don't ask them to do it. Just say that you're still waiting for an interview. You can always message me on social media. I'm everywhere at MedPsychMoss. If you wanted to join the support group or want to join my newsletter or be notified whenever I submit new podcast episodes, you can sign up on my website, medpsychmoss.com. And on YouTube, it's Patient Dr. Moss, Life as a Patient Doctor podcast, where I interview med students, doctors, healthcare professionals that share the humanity within medicine. I also provide advice on my own journey, residency, and different struggles for med students. Hopefully those are helpful for you. Thank you all so much for joining in today.